Okay. The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. In the temporary absence of clergy, I'll ask for a moment of silence. Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Sunday, April 3rd, 2022, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. Journal Saturday, April 2nd, 2022 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned. Thank you, sir.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentations of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. Secretary will read.
Senator Gorin moves to discharge from the Committee on Codes. Assembly Bill number 7603 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 6966, third reading calendar 471.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Report of select committees. Communications and reports from state officers. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gineris.
Madam President, we're going to start with an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332.
There'll be an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332.
The Senate will stand at ease.
Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will return to order. Ready? I know. Ready. Senator Gineris.
Thank you, Madam President. There's a report of the Rules Committee at the desk. Can we take that up, please?
Secretary will read.
Senator Stuart Cousin from the Committee on Rules reports the following bill. Senate Print 8715 by Senator Kruger, an act making appropriations for the support of government. Bill reports directed third reading.
To accept the report of the Rules Committee?
All those in favor of accepting the Rules Committee signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The Rules Committee is adopted. Senator Gineris.
Okay, can we move right to the supplemental calendar now, Madam President?
The Secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 745, Senate Print 8715 by Senator Kruger, an act making appropriations for the support of government.
Madam President, before we lay that bill aside, I understand the message of necessity has reached the desk.
Yes, there is a message of necessity at the desk.
Message of necessity.
All those in favor of accepting the message of necessity signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The message is accepted and the bill is before the House.
Laid aside, Madam President.
Bill will be laid aside.
Laid aside.
Laid aside.
Yep.
Senator Gineris.
The calendar, Madam President.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 745, Senate Print 8715 by Senator Kruger, an act making appropriations for the support of government.
Secretary will ring the bell.
Sorry, Madam President, I didn't hear my name called. Thank you, Madam President. I just have a few questions on this bill, if Senator Kruger would yield for a moment.
Senator Kruger, will you yield?
I will certainly yield for Senator O'Mara.
Sponsor
Thank
will yield.
you, Madam President. Senator, this bill 8715 that we have before us, it's been in print and online for maybe 5 or 10 minutes now. That sound about right to you?
Could be. No, in fairness, there was a earlier version, and then the governor wanted to make a change, and so the new version got here very recently. So I believe you're approximately correct. Racing the clock to get this done.
Yes, Madam President, through you, if the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Of course.
Sponsor yields.
Yeah, we are really racing the clock because it's 3:31 right now, and the comptroller has said that they need this by 4 o'clock this afternoon, 29 minutes, to meet certain payroll requirements for state workers to be paid. Now, this is part of the state budget. Can you tell me what the total amount of spending is in this bill?
$360 million through you, Madam President.
Through you, Madam President, if Senator Kruger will continue to yield.
Senator Kruger, do you yield?
Yes.
Senator Kruger yields.
Senator Kruger, can you tell us what the last-minute revision that the governor wanted in here was?
I believe that they left out one of the lines of appropriation, but I don't know which line of appropriation got added back in.
Through you, Madam President, the senator would yield.
Senator, do you yield?
Yes.
Senator yields.
What was the dollar amount of that line?
Figure that out. The governor reports it was an administrative error, so the money number might not have changed, just the language might have changed.
Through you, Madam President, if Senator Kruger will continue to yield.
Senator Kruger, do you yield?
Yes.
Senator Kruger yields.
How much of the spending in this bill is not related directly to payroll coverage for this week's payroll?
There's payroll and the fringe benefits associated with payroll. There's the general state charges payments that also associate with payroll. There's some OPWDD, primarily money for contracts for residential care. There's some Department of Health WIC payments. There's some funding for the Indian Health Program and some NPS payments, which are contractual payments. And yet, do we have the answer on what percentage of that is actual payroll? Looking through the bill, but we don't necessarily have that yet for you, Senator O'Mara.
Okay, if I can move on to the next question and get that answer when you have it, please, in the interest
Senator
of time.
Kruger, do you yield?
As soon as I
Bless you.
see-
Senator Kruger yields. Bless you.
God bless you.
I apologize, Madam President. I see you
5 times.
Once I start, I just can't do anything about it.
Senator Kruger, if you're not dizzy, oh, I forgot even what I was going to ask now.
Would you like to sneeze?
Yeah, maybe I'll sneeze. Maybe that'll bring it back to me. We're running short on time. Senator Kruger, this is part of the budget that we haven't put together yet. And we have probably, 8 or 9 more bills to go after this one that have apparently not been agreed to yet. Can you tell us generally where we are in the state of negotiations as far as reaching a final agreement on all parts of the budget, so they're all together and we know fully what we're voting on here?
So I actually think that would take beyond our 4 o'clock timeline, but I'm actually cautiously optimistic that we could actually get the full bills done by Thursday. That's the estimate I was given before I came into chamber. So yes, it is an extender. We have passed extenders many years where we didn't quite get everything done by the deadline of April 1st. And so it's not a particularly unusual thing for this chamber to see an extender bill, which really, for people who don't know what we're talking about, we want to make sure that the workers of New York State continue to get paid while we're still working out the final details of the full budget. But I am cautiously optimistic that we are close enough that we could get the whole package of budget bills to print and ready to vote on by Thursday.
Through you, Madam President, if the Senator will continue to yield.
Senator, would you yield?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator yields.
Now, all the pieces of that budget would have to be in print by midnight tonight for us to timely vote on them on Thursday. So are you anticipating messages of necessity from the governor for every bill of the budget that we're going to pass?
What do we need them on? We are likely to need message of necessity on several of the bills. We've already done the debt service bill. The judiciary and legislative, probably not. But it is quite possible that we will need messages on all the other bills.
Through you, Madam President, if the Senator will continue to yield.
Senator, yield?
Yes.
Senator yields.
Senator Kruger, has there been an agreement yet on the avails as far as how much revenue there is going to be to spend in whole on what's going to make up this year's budget?
Census plan agreed to on March 1st, so we know what those avails are. I believe that was 1.6 billion at the time. And I think revenues have been coming in more strongly than we expected from our taxes since then. So do we have an We're remaining at the consensus plan of approximately 1.2 billion in avails.
And that, through you, Madam President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
The sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
With that level of avails, then, if it sticks at that, that would bring the total overall spending in this budget to what?
You know, we confess we didn't bring the right paperwork to the floor. We think it's about a 5% increase, 5.5% increase over the year before. And unfortunately, I'm not remembering the numbers. So we'd be happy to get them to all of the senators right after chambers, but I don't have that paper trail here today.
Thank you, Senator. Madam President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
The sponsor yield.
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Traditionally, Senator Kruger, in the negotiations of the budget, usually much earlier than this point, there would have been provided certain so-called table targets of what was available to spend on each subject matter, such as transportation, education, health. the big areas. What are the table targets at this point of the game?
Have table targets at this point in the game. And I agree, that's a little frustrating. I think frustrating to all the members, but we do not have table targets at this time.
Senator Krueger, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Tedisco.
Yeah, would the gentlelady yield for a few questions?
Senator Krueger, will you yield?
Certainly.
The senator yields.
Oh, that's true. Did he say gentleman?
Gentlelady.
Oh, gentlelady, excuse me. I would have answered either way, actually, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator, by way of transparency, I know all of us know, but I know the viewers and the taxpayers and the people we take an oath of office to might want to understand exactly what the Constitution says about any bill.
Senator Tedisco, are you on the bill or are you asking the sponsor a question?
No, I asked you if she'd yield for a question.
But are you on the bill? Explaining?
That's what I asked you, if I could ask her a question.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Senator Krueger, I know you're familiar, and all of our colleagues here are, but in terms of the taxpayers watching and those who we take an oath of office to, could you explain what the Constitution says about any bill that comes to our desk, including hovering around a $220 billion budget bill? What does the Constitution say should happen when the bill gets on our desk?
Them on our desk anymore. We put them through the iPad or through the LRS system, but the same point, that bills are supposed to age for 3 days before they're voted upon, unless there is a message of necessity from the governor.
Would the senator yield?
Sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
So, I understand this is an extender to pay the state workers. So we know what that value is to us. We know they have to come to work. We know the service they provide. So you're probably going to get a lot of votes for us. What we don't know is the content of this budget, hovering around $220 billion. Could you explain why it's responsible to vote for that when we don't have those at least 2 days, 1.5 days, 12 hours, maybe 8 hours, maybe 3 hours? How about 15 minutes? Could you explain that to us, how responsible that might or might not be for the taxpayers we represent, for my vote and for the voters on this side, and your colleagues on your side?
Senator, through you, Madam President, I completely empathize because I have stood where you stood and used the exact same argument. I would prefer that we did not have messages of necessity on budget bills. I would prefer that we did have the chance to review them. I will point out to my colleagues that they have both the governor's original executive budget, they have both the one-house budget from the Senate, the one-house budget from the Assembly, so they understand, or they can, the parameters of the debate that is taking place right now between the two houses and the governor. But you're right, they don't have bill language of the very specifics of what will be narrowed down, hopefully very quickly, and turned into budget legislation.
Senator, yield for another question.
Does the senator yield?
Did you say I was right?
Does the senator?
Okay. What would the damage be of giving us the bills on Thursday and waiting the 3 days for us to read it?
So it's a great question. When does a late budget become a problem? My understanding is that there are school districts that have their local school board votes as early as the week after, 12th. So I actually think some of the harm is if we don't get the budget done in time for the school districts to know exactly what their education funding is going to be when they are bringing their new budgets to people.
Would the senator yield?
Does the sponsor yield?
Well,
Yes.
by my count,
Sponsor
let's
yields.
see, if we give it to us Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 3 days. There's no school budgets within 3 days after Thursday. That wouldn't impact it at all. So what would the problem be? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then have a knowledgeable vote on that budget.
If we put out a budget, they still need to translate what did that mean for their district, and if they need to reduce what they were projecting for their voters or increase, as the case may be, that they would really need more than a few minutes to deal with that. So I actually think we're cutting it pretty close as is, and I would prefer not to have to cut it any closer.
Would the senator yield for another question?
Does Senator yield?
Yes.
Senator yields.
How many school board votes will there be on the 12th of this? Did you say the 12th?
12? Do we know? We believe over 600.
Would the senator yield?
Does Senator yield?
Yes.
Senator yields.
Do you have any knowledge of whether there'll be anything done to help with the gas tax or any situation with the pain at the pump or with bail, the cash bail, criminal justice? Any inkling of a little bit of information about those two important concepts that we're concerned about when it's the highest inflation in 40 years of our constituents?
I believe that both of those issues have been under discussion and are still under discussion.
Madam President. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Yeah. Senator Helming.
Thank you, Madam President. The sponsor will yield for a question.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, Madam President. I would be happy to answer.
The senator yields.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Senator Krueger, I was just looking for some clarification. When I heard my colleague, Senator Tedisco, ask a question, and he framed it around transparency and having enough time to review the budget so that we could make educated votes on behalf of our constituents. You had mentioned that the one thing that we could be doing, or I interpreted what you said to say that we could be reviewing the governor's original proposal. We could be reviewing the Senate one-house budget. But just to get back, and Senator Tedisco brought up part of this too, in the governor's original budget and in the Senate one house, what was in there about bail and discovery reform?
I think that's a good catch by the senator. I believe that the governor's proposal, by and large, came out after she released her executive budget. And so I don't think there was anything significant in either one house or the governor's executive budget on this important issue. It came up late in the game.
Through you, Madam President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Does the sponsor yield?
If I could make it the last question, just because I'm nervous about timeline. So pick your best question. I hate to be rude, but I'm being told that we need to get
Is
this
this
to the
through you,
controller.
Madam President?
Yes.
Through you, Madam President.
So the sponsor will yield for one final question.
Okay. So we're being asked to vote on a $360 million extender right now, which I fully support paying our state workers. They shouldn't suffer the consequences of the inability to get a budget done on time. And it's unfortunate that I'm being limited to 2 questions. But going back to the one question that I have remaining to me, that question would be, Senator Krueger, was there anything in the governor's original proposal or in the Senate one house about a certain stadium being built?
There was nothing in the budget about a stadium being built, and I still have seen no language within a budget bill related to a stadium.
Since I am not allowed to ask any further questions of the sponsor, I would just comment that it is incredibly important for us to be able to do our jobs responsibly, to uphold the oath of office that we've all taken. We need to have these budget bills in a timely manner. Having them minutes before it's time to vote on them is not acceptable to anyone. And to feel that there's pressure because the comptroller's office wants this at 4 o'clock and it's now, minutes before 4 o'clock, I just find it unacceptable. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard?
Clarification, if I might, Madam President.
Yes, ma'am.
Earlier, Senator O'Mara asked what amount of money was in this bill that was not for payroll, and it's 11 million out of the 260 million that is not. What? Excuse me. 11 million of the 360 million is not related to payroll or associated taxes. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Seeing and hearing no other senators, the debate is now closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 10, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. Let me return to motions and resolutions at this time. Amendments are offered to the following third reading calendar bills by Senator Kruger, Calendar 451, and by Senator Parker, Calendar 715.
The amendments are received and the bill to retain its place on the third reading calendar.
Take up previously adopted Resolution 1978 by Senator Sepulveda. Read its title and recognize Senator Sepulveda.
The secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 1978 by Senator Sepulveda, mourning the death of Benicio Catala Jr., renowned public servant, distinguished citizen, and devoted member of his community.
Senator Sepulveda on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me to bring this resolution to the floor today. In my 10 years as either an assemblyman or state senator, I've done many resolutions in both chambers. But today, I do this resolution with a little sense of sadness, but a little sense of pride as well, for the person who we're honoring today, Benicio Benny Catala. Unfortunately, Benny passed away on January 17th at the young age of 52. And for many of us, especially in the Bronx, it was a very sad day. I've known Benny for over 30 years, and Benny has been more like a family member to me than a friend. He's helped me, he's helped my family members individually, and even when we were on different sides of political fights, Benny was always a great friend. There are many people in the Bronx, many people in New York City, I dare say, who Benny has helped one way or another. I remember at his funeral, so many elected officials came in from different parts of the city of New York that I was surprised at the outpour of love and affection for Benny. His family is watching us today. They're watching this proceeding. And I hope that they get a sense when we're all done speaking of how important Benny was to many of us. Benny dedicated his life to service at the young age of 16. Benny began his career as a public servant, where he basically helped people with housing, food, and other social services that were much needed in the community that he represented. Benny worked for many years with Assemblywoman Aurelia Green. And in his capacity working with her is where he got the opportunity to help so many people. I'm fighting back, getting a little emotional here because Benny was that kind of a friend to me. In my darkest days of my political life, Benny was always there to help me and support me. And I'll never forget that. His infinite selflessness and benevolence will shine through his family's vivid and happy memories. His insight, his strength will forever be a beacon of love, light, and hope to countless people whose lives Benny touched. My deepest and sincerest condolences are with the family, the entire family, for the loss of such a great public servant, such a great friend, such a great human being. Benny, you will always live in our lives, in our hearts, and in our minds. What you did for the Bronx, for your friends, and for your family will never be forgotten. And I'm sad that we lost you at such a young age. but I know you're in a better place. And I know that our community in the Bronx and in the city of New York will never forget you. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Bailey on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Sepulveda, for introducing this incredibly difficult resolution to speak about. We speak about a lot of resolutions on the floor, Madam President, about historical figures, but it might be the first time I'm speaking about a friend, somebody who helped me get into politics, somebody who believed in me regardless of where I was from. Benny Catala, Venancio Catala Jr., we called him Benny. If you were from the Bronx and you heard the name Benny, there was only one man you were talking about, and this was this man that we were talking about on the floor. It is ironic that we are speaking about him on this resolution on the first day when we're permitted to file petitions. Benny was a political master. Benny knew everything that there was to know about the Bronx, and as Senator Sepulveda alluded to, about more than the Bronx. He was more than just a friend, he was a confidant. He was someone who gave his last to so many people. At his funeral, there was so many outpourings of love and emotion about things that Benny did for them that they didn't even know that Benny did for them until somebody told them after the fact. Benny was your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. He was your favorite guy's favorite guy. He had somebody for everything if you needed it. In listening to the people at his wake and at his funeral, the amount of lives that he's touched is just remarkable. And you know somebody the way that you know them. But it's always remarkable when at these homegoing celebrations to be able to hear how these people that touch your life impacted the lives of everybody else. So I can share that Benny was someone who had a keen sense of humor, a sharp sense of humor, as it were. And he would always send text messages of certain memes, right? And I remember one final meme that he sent me, and this is how I knew that Benny loved me, because he sent me a meme of me and my daughters wearing Mets jerseys. Now, if you knew Benny, you knew how much he hated the Mets and loved the Yankees, so for him to send me that meme meant a lot to me. Benny was sharp, not just a sharp wit, but he had a sharp line, a razor-sharp line. He always shouted out his barber, E Sharp, and I always texted him, Benny, when you gonna hook me up with E Sharp so I can get a line too? Benny was an incredibly dapper individual. He loved himself some Ralph Lauren polo. He would once say, thou shalt not wear USPA. He wanted to make sure that it was Ralph and Ralph only. He was more than just somebody who was charismatic and witty. He was a worker. He was someone that he would have been binding with us, binding petitions until the last person was out the door. He would have been out on the streets making sure he was talking to people. But it's not just about the political work. It's the community work, how he started out with Reverend Jerome A. Green and the late great Aurelia Green in the streets of the South Bronx. Benny was a unifier. He was somebody that brought blacks and Latinos together in the borough of the Bronx because he had that gravitas. He had that swag, as it were, Madam President. And it's interesting how people send messages from beyond. The day of his funeral, I got in the car and I put on the music on shuffle, and the first song I heard was It's So Hard to Say Goodbye, and it was really interesting. Then the next song I heard was Nice and Smooth, Hip Hop Junkies, which was one of Benny's favorite groups, and he grew up with one of the guys, Greg Nice, from Nice and Smooth. So many things to speak about Benny and so many things that he's done in the community, and I just, I'm gonna bring it to a pause here. But I talked about petitions and how petitions have like a dual meaning, right? Petitions in the church, petitions of prayer, and also petitions that we need to get on the ballot. And what I'll say is that Benny is organizing in heaven right now, and he's got a slate, and he was accepted with no challenges. We are extremely proud of the work that he has done in the physical form, but we know that he was a man of faith and that his work continues in the metaphysical. So to you, Big Ben, cheers to you, Benny. All the best to you, my friend, to your family, to your loved ones, to the Bronx. You made the Bronx a better place. London might have Big Ben as their monument, but Big Ben is our monument in the boogie down Bronx. God rest the life and soul of Venancio Benny Catala Jr.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution was adopted on March 8th. Senator Janaris.
At the request of the sponsor, that resolution is open for co-sponsorship.
The resolution is open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolution, please notify the desk. Senator Janaris.
Let's take up the calendar at this time, please.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 397, Senate Print 6828A by Senator Mayer, enactment of the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62. Nope, sorry.
Senator Mayer to explain her vote.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'm sorry I didn't get up quicker. I did want to explain my vote. This bill is so exceptionally important to all of us because it would require the Department of Labor to give notice of whether a person is eligible or ineligible for unemployment benefits within 30 days, unless there's some extraordinary circumstances. And I know that all of us in this chamber on both sides of the aisle have these experiences, but this is real to the people we serve. And I asked my staff to give me the last few claims that we've gotten, still calling our office 2 years after the onset of COVID. I'm calling with regards to unemployment insurance. My son has made a number of calls, and he gives them all the information, and no one gets back to him. And it's a really sad situation when the people who are supposed to be helping you don't. Been waiting 8 weeks and still haven't received any benefits. They keep determining my benefits amount, but I can't get through on the phone lines. I'm a one-income household. I rely on my unemployment. I can't pay my bills without it. Have not heard anything back about my claim. I have not received any information about the status of my claim. It has been many weeks. These are this year's complaints, 2 years after we started this onslaught of unemployment, and I suspect every one of us has these calls. This bill, we need to change this system and require the Department of Labor to give notice of whether you're eligible or ineligible so that you can apply for a hearing if you're ineligible and that there is pressure on them to do this. I urge my colleagues to support this, and I urge the Department of Labor, let's move this process along and give our constituents the information and the benefits they are entitled to. I vote aye.
Senator Mayer to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 471, Assembly number 7603 by Assemblymember Salitti, an act to repeal certain provisions of the criminal procedure law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 491, Senate Print 8128 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 586, Senate Print 1256B by Senator Gianaris, an act to amend the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day of shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 591, Senate Print 2988 by Senator Harcum, an act in relation to ordering a study and report on improvements of State Route 9A.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Reichlin Melnick to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Senator Harcum for introducing this bill, which I am proud to co-sponsor. So I want everybody here to imagine, and everybody watching, that you're driving down a state highway, wherever you may be in New York State, and all of a sudden, there's a sign that says low bridge ahead. And if you don't merge out of the right lane that you're driving in into the passing lane, you're going to smash right into that bridge. That's the situation that truck traffic on State Route 9A in the town of Ossining faces every single day. This is a 90-year-old roadway that was built at a time when trucks were not as large as they were today, cars didn't go as fast, and the bridges didn't need to be as high. Today, trucks are allowed on this roadway, and yet there are several places where if they fail to merge, they hit those bridges. So this bill by Senator Harcum, which I co-sponsor, says one thing very simply. It's time for the DOT to do a study and figure out how are we going to fix this dangerous road that passes through the towns of Ossining and Mount Pleasant.
45,000 vehicles a day use this highway. And on average, in the 2.5-mile stretch that goes through the village of Briarcliff Manor in my district, there are over 120 accidents a year. It's an average of more than 3 a week. It strains the local police, fire, and EMS departments, and it is a tragedy waiting to happen. There have been fatal accidents on this stretch of road. There have been accidents involving school buses. It is a matter of time. And so I hope, and I am grateful to the Senate for passing this bill a second time. We passed it last year. I hope the Assembly will do likewise. I hope we can get some funding in the budget for this study because I don't know any other highway out there across New York State which allows trucks on it, and yet they can't fit under some of the bridges. So thank you very much, Madam President. I vote aye.
Senator Reichlin Melnick to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 645, Senate Print 4471A by Senator Mannion, enactment of the General Municipal Law and the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect on the 60th day, and it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 693, Senate Print 7106A by Senator Mannion, enactment of the Social Services Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 710, Senate Print 2933A by Senator Parker, an act to direct the Department of State and Public Service Commission to jointly study and report upon the provision of consumer credit reporting.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White. I got it. Yep.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 710, those senators voted in the negative are Senators O'Mara and Ort, ayes 60, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 718, Senate Print 2789 by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the executive law.
Laid aside.
Calendar number 731, Senate Print 28A by Senator Kaplan, an act to amend the State Administrative Procedure Act.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Let's move on to the controversial calendar, please.
The Secretary will ring the bell. The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 718, Senate Print 2789 by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the executive law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Madam President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Helming to be heard.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Madam President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that you recognize Senator Helming.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Helming may be heard.
Thank you,
Senator
Madam
Helming.
President. I rise to appeal the ruling of the chair. The proposed amendment is germane because Senate Bill 2789 is about providing additional protections to victims of the vengeful sharing of intimate images, while the amendment that I've brought forward would provide additional protections to victims of all crimes by repealing the bail and discovery reform laws. More specifically, the bail and discovery reforms have proven to be a disaster, causing unnecessary and irreparable harm. We can see the impact that these reforms have on our state as crime continues to rise and more New Yorkers feel unsafe in their own homes. These bail laws leave judges with no option to set bail on individuals charged with several serious offenses, including certain burglary, arson, and robbery charges. As a result, victims of those crimes are more vulnerable to harassment, intimidation, and additional violence. And judges have no option to set bail, even when the defendant has a history of violence or witness intimidation or tampering. Time and time again, we've seen how these misguided bail reforms have hurt New Yorkers. Let me remind you of New York Police Department Officer Dolce Veve, who was severely injured and is now bound to a wheelchair after being dragged for blocks by a stolen vehicle driven by a criminal with 11, yes, 11 prior arrests. In May of last year, while this criminal was out on parole, he led NYPD officers on a high-speed chase in another stolen vehicle. And then guess what happened in February of this year? This same criminal led Port Authority officers on another chase in another stolen car. And his punishment, or maybe I should more aptly call it his reward, for his most recent arrest in history of crime, he was released due to New York State's misguided bail laws, which forbid a judge from setting bail in stolen car cases. Let me tell you about Mark Knapp, a 59-year-old Finger Lakes man who is beloved by his wife, his daughters, his family, and our entire community. He was struck and killed by a drunk driver who fled the scene. Just 1 month prior to the fatal incident that took Mark's life, this criminal was arrested on aggravated DWI charges and was eligible for mandatory release. A 24-year-old Ontario County man at the center of an FBI investigation was released after being charged with promoting child pornography. Under the bail laws, it's disgusting, but this isn't a qualifying offense. These are just a few examples of people's lives being destroyed because of the changes to bail and discovery laws. The lengthy list of offenses that are not bail eligible includes unlawful dissemination or publication of an intimate image, the offense that is the focus of the bill that's before us. And while this bill makes important amendments that would allow victims to hide their address from the criminal that disseminated their intimate pictures, our bail and discovery laws do nothing, absolutely nothing, to protect that same victim once the offender is arrested. Does that even make sense? I've said this before, time and time again on this floor. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is about public safety, which should be our #1 priority. Without having a deterrent against committing a crime, our fates and the fates of our loved ones are held in the hands of those who have no regard for the safety of others. Just what is it going to take to keep these dangerous individuals off our streets? And yes, I've heard the arguments and read about the arguments that the data does not indicate a need for change. However, I'd offer the Monroe County Sheriff's Office conducted an analysis of local data, which was gathered by the Monroe Crime Analysis Center on repeat offenders. That December of 2021 study showed that 74 individuals committed at least 131 new known crimes after receiving their first appearance tickets. Some individuals recorded up to 6 additional crimes, and that's just the recorded crimes committed that were known. In addition, this study found that in Rochester, the number of shooting victims increased by more than 105% in 2021 versus the 5-year average. And the number of individuals killed by gun violence in 2021 went up 120% compared to the 5-year average. Madam President, I offer this. This is real crime. These are real lives lost, and these are families who are being torn apart. Clearly, bail and discovery reform is failing. I voted against these measures when they were pushed forward, and I'm going to continue to advocate against them until they are repealed. For these reasons, Madam President, I strongly urge you to consider the victims and reconsider your ruling.
Thank you, Senator. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye.
Request a show of hands.
Madam President, we've agreed to waive the showing of hands, record each member of the minority in the affirmative.
Without objection, so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands, and the bill in chief is before the House. Ring the bell, right? The secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Section 2, this action take effect immediately.
Oops, sorry. Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 62.
The bill is passed. Senator oops. Am I going to do this before I ask?
Further business at the desk. Madam President, we've rushed through so much business today, I nearly forgot that I know we have a distinguished religious leader here with us today, and we're going to do this as a benediction today. And so if you please call up our special guest.
Rabbi Shmuel Butman, Director of Lubavitch Youth Organization, will deliver today's benediction. Rabbi?
Let us pray together. Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven, please bestow your blessings upon the members of the New York State Senate, upon themselves and upon their families. Bless them with all the good things of happiness and benevolence in everything that they do, especially since they are going to pass a resolution honoring 120 days of education in honor of the 120th birthday of the Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. In Psalm 121 that we start saying on the day of the Rebbe's birthday, it says, Ezri me'im Hashem, which means that if a third person needs help, who is going to help him? Almighty God, the creator of heaven and earth. The Rebbe always liked days of education because the Rebbe explains that he wants every child, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of color, regardless of grade, to know that there is an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and that the world is not a jungle. We take a look at what's happening in the world now, and we see the reason the world is less than perfect, because not everyone makes that calculation, that there is an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and that the world is not a jungle. And this is why the Rebbe wanted every child to understand that. You here in the Senate of the state of New York are not only leaders, you're not only the custodians of goodness and of good deeds and of law and order in the state of New York, but because New York is a world place and the world is looking up to you, then you are the leaders not only in New York State, but also in the United States of America. And because the United States of America is a superpower, then what you do in the United States of America has a reflection on the entire world. In 1991, I went to Washington and I opened the United States Senate. Before I went to Washington, I went to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said I should take with me a pushka. A pushka is a charity box. And he says, while you're there opening the United States Senate in Washington, take with you a pushka and give $1 for charity, and they should know that all the members should know what money should be used for. And this is why we are going to do the same. We're going to put in $1 in this pushka for charity, and we hope that later when we have a chance, each and every one of you will also contribute $1 to the charity box. I should tell you this is not an effort for fundraising, because if this would be an effort for fundraising, we would ask you for much more than $1. Nevertheless, this is an effort to do more goodness and kindness, and we're doing it right now. I also want to tell you that every Saturday in our synagogues, we pray for you, for each and every one of you. We say, Almighty God, all those who serve the public faithfully, you should bless them with all the good things that they need. You are the ones who are serving the public, and we are praying for you in our shuls, in our synagogues, every Saturday, every single week. We bless you that you should have health and you should have happiness, not only for yourself, but also for yourself in the spiritual sense and also in the physical sense. and you have our blessings that you should pass the budget successfully today. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Here. Give me my dollar. There you go, Rabbi. Rabbi? Rabbi?
Hey, this is nice.
Thank you, Rabbi Buttman. Senator Gianaris.
And now, Madam President, is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
I move to adjourn until tomorrow, Tuesday, April 4th at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, April 5th at 3 p.m.